It's like loads of spinny clothes.
This is gold, this stuff.
This is great. This is great.
This stuff.
Talking of flannels, do you remember that jumper I was wearing?
So the vision behind Iris was really a crystal ball moment. No, it wasn't a crystal ball moment, but it was really seeing that our preferred or our primary source of information would shift from visual to audio for a few reasons. One, quite obviously our ability to multitask and our ability to drive a car while listening to an audiobook or do the washing up or whatever you're doing in this sort of increasingly fast-natured life that we lead. Reading felt like it was going to become more and more inefficient. And then on top of that, the sort of deep rabbit hole I went down with my sort of obsession on the neurological response of audio compared to visual and what was happening in the brain and how we've evolved to listen, picking up all these different pieces of phase information. And I became quite detailed in my obsession with understanding that and why we have this emotional response, why music makes us laugh, cry, sleep, relax, motivate in the gym, etc. So that's kind of where it started. And I started doing a lot of research in meeting some very interesting individuals on the West Coast of America, really understanding that neurological response and how, if we were going to shift into this digital environment of audio, what was missing, and then how we could augment that experience to really engage people in the same way that we're engaging with each other now. So that's kind of where it all started. And then I met some wacky inventors on the West Coast who are still involved in the business and integral to everything we build and grow. And they were doing some amazing things. And they originally had started studying the neurological response to psilocybin in the late 70s, early 80s. And the FDA made that illegal. And they continued those studies on trying to create the same neuroplasticity and neurological response through sensory input stimuli. And their studies showed what I believed and had been reading up on myself, which was that sound has this unique effect on the brain, different to the rest of our senses and how the brain is engaged, and again onto this emotional response. And so we started talking about information retention and memory and engagement, emotional response, and all these other interesting pieces, and leading into human performance, which has sort of led us onto our journey with Formula One and other motor racing sports, and then into where we are today, bringing these efficiencies in. And very early on in that journey, I met Tom. I was actually about to hire someone else, a Bain strategist called Barry White.
What name?
And a headhunter called me up and said that I should meet the wonderful Tom, and I said no, repeatedly, until she convinced me to just take a 30-minute meeting. And at the time, I was in one of my investors' office in a glass box in the corner, trying to piece together a business on my own. And Tom walked in and was put in the meeting room across the room, and I could see him, and I saw a chap with a rather odd moustache. Failed attempt at a moustache.
It was Movember, okay. It was charity.
It was for charity. And a polo neck, which was not for charity.
That was definitely not for charity. That was just fashion.
And I thought, this is a waste of my time, and walked in. But within about 5 minutes, I knew that we would work together and build a business together. So we started doing that, and then we needed someone who's.
Well, let me tell you the story. I need to tell before we move on. I need to tell you the story from the other side, because I got a phone call from the headhunter, and they said there's this guy who's created a new version of MP3 that makes your brain go wild, and he needs someone to help kind of come and figure it out. So possibly one of the worst pitches of a company.
You were sitting in a hotel in Glasgow, right?
I was sitting in a hotel in Glasgow, and we had a drink at that hotel a little while back to reminisce, because I was refereeing hockey at that time, and that's all I was doing. I'd finished a job in Malta, I'd come back, and I was sitting on the train going up there, and I got quite emotional retelling this story a little while back, because we talk about serendipity in this business, and this was like just a moment of that nature. And I thought on the train up to Glasgow, I could do with I need my brain to be re-engaged in in business and something I felt passionate about. And I thought just a two-day a week kind of consulting gig would be ideal. And then the phone call came in, and then that went from 2 days to 3 days, I think, to then full time within a matter of a few weeks. And in that space of time, we'd obviously gone over to California to meet the guys at Founder. And that spark of that strap line that we'll come back to in a little while, Listen Well.
Yeah.
That came up.
And that's when we managed to, and I put it this way intentionally, close Rob, because it was quite an effort to close you, Rob. I remember there was quite a bit of back and forth, and I remember the moment you agreed. I think I was standing by a pool in LA at the hotel just before we drove off to meet a bunch of potential clients, and finally you
Well, we found you on
committed.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, I was I just come out of Juke Deck, another music AI company. That was an AI composer at the time, and the technology had been acquired by ByteDance, and so I was ready for the next adventure. And yeah, I remember I was on a holiday in Ibiza with my family, and that just happened to be sort of randomly scrolling through ads, and that one came up, and I thought, sounds kind of interesting. It was all about sort of bio and how music or audio can shift your mindset and your mood and well-being and hacking your brain and all these types of things, which I was just naturally interested in anyway. And at the time, the kind of proposition was maybe a bit more sort of spiritual and space agey, and that's been obviously evolved over time. But yeah, I remember having a first conversation with you, and then I came back to London, still interested, and we basically started dating. So
Yeah, I was on Carnaby Street, just around the corner from this wonderful new office that we're moving into, and I was walking down the street, and I was trying to order a coffee at the same time as speaking to you like this, and you were on holiday, and obviously had the kids and everything around you. But we did start dating because we had a few conversations back and forth.
Down at Borough Market, we had a couple.
Met at Borough Market, then that was second date.
Yeah, I think there were 3 or 4. Then I came in to meet Jacobi and the rest of the team, which was Pooks and another guy called Tony at the time.
That's right.
Obviously was very impressed with how far you'd got as such a small team, and then this idea of the headphones was just being born, which I also found super interesting, and the conversations flowed from there. I obviously hold out for a bit.
Hell of a negotiator.
Yeah,
I remember Jacobi came in and we were high-fiving. We were like, "Yeah, we got him. We got Rob." And then that was the start of it, right? That was the start of building the company. You and I had been sat basically in
then we acquired the patents.
That's right.
And the IP.
Yeah.
And it was clear that we needed to go with work. There was a lot of work to be done to turn something that was very esoteric and an idea and a patent into a tangible product that we could put into the headphones and into SDKs and the other solutions that we found or developed. It was over to Rob.
Yeah, because I started in June, and that was August. I think we finally got the signed deal, and then it was just execution time from that point forwards. So yeah, just running at it as fast as we could. The iPhone app came first. The first public showing of Listen Well and active listening, and onto the headphones afterwards. So yeah, it was a really exciting time, and great. I massively enjoyed those early days and us sort of whiteboarding and figuring it all out on
we had a lot of fun.
The walls of Knightsbridge.
And we've always punched quite well above our weight. We went and did amazing work with Goldsmiths, and then connected to the guys at Mount Sinai Hospital and Human Performance, and which led us to remember those days going to Santa Monica to meet the Red Bull Human Performance Institute, get them excited, and then that led us into the Formula One stuff, which really was the beginning of Iris Clarity and solving the problem of noise within communications, and that kind of just springboarded us into where we are today.
That punching above the weight thing is so true. When we built the app, we'd got that amazing prototype of the headphones, and we were quite deep actually into the engineering, and we were ferrying back and forth to China via Hong Kong into Shenzhen to do all of the engineering, and obviously Abid, who's still with us, was integral to building out the technology deployment onto the chip and all of that sort of stuff. And then we conceived this James Honeywell. Do you remember James Honeywell?
Yeah,
he was our marketing director at the time, and actually, shortly after decided he wanted to move on to something else, but really conceived this incredible event that we did at
it was spectacular.
Phonica Records, literally down this street. Is it down this street?
Yeah.
Down this street, Phonica Records in the basement there, just through that record shop and into that kind of cavernous space where we had the Red Bull Formula One car, and people were going, I thought that you guys, like 4 or 5 people in a room in Knightsbridge. You're like, we are.
We had about 700 people, and Christian Horner and David Pacino, amazing David Pacino, who's head of human performance at Mount Sinai, and a BBC presenter to interview us and talk about how we were going to change the way we look at audio and the way we study it and integrate it into our daily lives.
People loved it, and people still love it, and then, let's roll forward. We did that event, I think, the end of February in 2020. So 2019 was about securing you, Rob, and acquiring the tech and doing all of that work with the patents, and then building the engineering for the headphones, and then we launched it in February 2020. Then a few weeks later,
The world fell apart.
The world fell apart, and game A, plan A was off the table. But in some roundabouts way, after a couple of weeks of absolute we didn't know, did we? It was horrendous. Hours and hours on calls. We actually had that inkling of an idea, which at the time was almost the side project to the headphones and the Listen Well technology. But this notion of background noise being a problem in communications with 2 or more people was suddenly something that we were not just focused on, but really made our passion to solve for.
Yeah, I think we've always been interested in having a portfolio of algorithms that all fit within the same thread. We're all interested in sound, making people feel better, and this was just another way to do that through a very different kind of means and a different approach, but ultimately the same end result, to remove people's frustration, make them feel better at work and improve their well-being. So that it had that thread to it.
What I was always thinking about was, what is going to be our cut-through product? I think, we have a suite of algorithms that solve different problems, some of which very esoteric, and some people find it hard to get their head around, and some of which are very functional, whether it's the headphones or Clarity. And I think Clarity really put its head up as this is solving a real problem in real time, which has now become everybody's problem because of the remote working and the COVID environment that we were living in. And so people became very, very quick to understand how it was going to solve a problem, increase productivity, improve their performance, and the flow of any conversation when you're not having to deal with the disruptions that you might have either on a Formula One track or just in working from home with your kids or your dogs or whatever may be disrupting you at the time. And
I remember, because when we were first locked away in our homes, I would extend that daily allotted walk that you were allowed to do to 5 hours and just do endless calls. People would be constantly saying, Tom, can you go on mute? Because the wind was rushing past the headphones. Jacobi, you had a different situation going on. You had a different thing that you purchased off Amazon every week. So at one point you had a ball and it was going off the wall. And then that escalated to a ukulele, I believe. How's that going?
Yeah, no, not so good. Not so good. Well, it was cheap, and so the strings wouldn't stay at the right. It wouldn't stay in tune.
Yeah.
It wouldn't stay in tune for more than 3 seconds.
Yeah. The bonsai tree.
But looking for bonsai tree did not live beyond the end of lockdown.
Yeah.
Looking for things to entertain in the sort of sitting in a flat.
And we were trying to be productive and get this headphone company and this bigger company that was just headphones off the ground. It was so just complicated, and almost that barrier to wanting to organise an online call was enough to make you think, can we do this a different way? I'll send an email. And there's something in that about communication, and we're a company that's big on people being together in the office as much as possible, but there's always that need for communications with people that are not in your location. And I guess one data point was what Christian Horner told us on that call about why are you hanging out the side
it's
still
a
with...
question I asked to Christian. I said, how in this hotbed of innovation that is Formula One, really at the peak of what they're doing now, we don't see in our cars for 5 years. Why are they using a pit board to communicate to a driver going past at 200 miles an hour? Just seemed baffling to me. And he responded with, just lack of confidence in their communications. And it is integral to the outcome. It's mission critical, as we now call one of the divisions in Iris. Mission critical to the outcome. And so, that's when I called up Rob and said, listen, let's solve this problem. And luckily, Rob is a smart chap, and he was surrounded by even smarter chaps. And we used our original patents and our, the way that we see audio, which is unique to, as far as I know, any other business in the world, and went to work on coming up with a solution, which has been highly effective.
Absolutely, it's just fundamentally down to our understanding that arose, out of the first work that we acquired around the importance of phase and in everything that we're doing, and that importance of phase is again borne exceptional fruit because
it's quite like the audio is somewhat of a forgotten sense. It has been in the evolution of technology, really, but even within that is. Phase is a forgotten dimension of it, really. I mean, I think people focus on frequency and volume and gain and dB and all of that stuff, but phase. I remember going with you to see Bang & Olufsen.
Oh yeah.
In Denmark. Is it in Denmark?
Yeah, Denmark. Yeah.
And talking to them about the sort of integrate view of phase that we have, and a lot of it seemed like even some of the best sound engineers in the world, golden ears that they have, seemed to sort of shoot over their heads a bit. They couldn't quite wrap their heads around how we saw the world.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was an absolute privilege to hear our technology playing through the biggest B&O rig that you'd ever seen in your life.
Hundreds of thousands of pounds of kit. Yeah.
It was just unbelievable to hear it in that setting. But yeah, that was another milestone moment.
Yeah.
So we're up to where are we up to now? Something like 2021.
Yeah.
We've done the headphones. We sold out of the headphones. I think we always knew that hardware wasn't our gig.
No,
it was a vehicle to demonstrate.
It was a marketing
technology.
tool to really, make it tangible, manifest the sound that we had in something physical. And then I think the other thing we always knew is we were never going to be a B2C business. We always wanted to be a SaaS business. So when we looked at the solution that we had, even though our problems were dealing with working as an individual on Zoom calls with 14 people, asking people to go on mute and off mute, and that was clearly a problem that we could solve and that we had solved. But we always wanted to look at it on a bigger corporate structure. And that's why we decided these three buckets, which is, as I mentioned, the sort of mission critical communications, the Formula Ones, Indy cars, aviation, transportation, the emergency services, the many areas we can play there. But really what was going to be the big market, and so we quickly identified the call and contact center space. 15 million desks worldwide, growing to 18 million over the next few years, premium service that it is now, having sort of gone through the evolution of bots, taking up the lower end of the market in 2016, 17. And then also on top of that, you've got this huge growth in the industry because, the high street is becoming not the place to buy most of your stuff, and people want to speak to people about the products they're buying, etc. And so we're seeing huge amounts of growth there, and that's really where we saw the big opportunity.
Yeah. So you've got the call and contact center space and enterprise in a broader sense, right? If you think about some of the opportunities that we're now talking to, this is about enterprise level communication enhancement for premium, high value, impactful conversations that are going to yield better outcomes because you're having a conversation without the distractions in the background. You've got that post-production lane where we're doing analytics and helping the speech-to-text transcription so that we can glean better insights. A lot of interest in their mission critical. But there's more to come, right? That's our product set, as we call it, Iris Clarity today. And in all of the conversations we have with this growing sales team, they're hungry for the next product to sell their clients. How do we kind of see the world beyond here? It's almost a challenge to prioritize, I think, actually.
Well, there's there's so much for our team to be getting their teeth into, but obviously we want to create complementary technologies that sit side by side to the ones we've already created to offer extra value to the customers that we already have. So we know we want to further enhance and improve sound. We haven't started looking at things like distortion and clipping and de-reverberation and the overall quality of audio in the contact center world. So there's much more we can do in that space and already are looking into. So yeah, we're obviously keen to continue to expand on that product set and make exciting features that go hand in hand with what we already have.
And I think we got to remain modest as a business, no matter how successful we are or aren't. And I think a company that goes forward saying, right, we know what you want and forcing product down the throat isn't a successful company. And I think it's important as we grow and sign more and more clients and partners into the business, we continue to listen to them and their needs. And, some of the ideas come out of that, just, I guess, somewhat what it did with a conversation with Christian Horner, but also some, we can see in the data side, and we look continuously learning and listening and, is the current client set and how we add more value to them and upsell them and increase the products that we can offer them, but also looking at other sectors that have similar problems in audio, and it's integral to, good outcomes and how we can build on that.
In terms of the team that we're building, so we've talked about it from the technology and product development standpoint. On the other side of it, on the commercial side, we really have built quite an exceptional sales team, and the hunger and I don't know, the kind of dollar signs lighting up in their eyes as we bring on salespeople that just feel like they can sell this with absolute energy and simplicity in a way. UK is a big focus. US is obviously a big focus, but you talk really well, Jacobi, about that's the center point of the organization, but actually these are global companies.
Yeah, I mean, we became a global business without designing to be, and very quickly, because the matrix selling and how a lot of these businesses, particularly in the call center space, I mean, it's England and North America, probably two of the most expensive places in the world to hold call center operations. So, but a lot of these businesses are based out of there, but then, they have, our first client had operations in Scotland, Romania, South Africa, Middle East. So our first ever client, we instantly became, people using the technology around the world. And the US is probably even more guilty of that. I think per capita, the number of call centers actually in the US is incredibly low, especially compared to the UK, which is, but because they're surrounded by Canada and Central America, South America, and they outsource a lot of their call center operations to these other countries. And Dominican Republic is a big one. And so I think instantly we become a global business, and that is very exciting, but also throws up complications that we have to solve. But it's clear that the US is clearly a great opportunity for us, and we've put a lot of focus in building the team there. We've got some really unique assets in some of the sales talent that we have there, and there's a lot of excitement around the team we've built, which really does make me excited. I think we've got a little team of rock stars there who are doing some great stuff and making great inroads into the potential market there.
Yeah, and we turned up, recently to an event there, Enterprise Connect, and the way we landed with in that same swaggerish style that we have, without being arrogant or egocentric about it. We want to demonstrate and put our best foot forward, and the way that we shone at that event was just incredible, and almost was the perfect. Some of our people that joined, it was their first week, and they just deposited themselves on the stand and were pitching within a few minutes, because the energy that created, and we're going to keep doing that. I think it's something we should be proud about, the way that we've built this brand that will only continue to grow, and clients will want to buy in, because we've got that fantastic storytelling at this level with IndyCar and the legacy in motorsport with Formula One, but then there's something that you can deploy in your enterprise business. That's quite a unique mix of solutions, I think.
Yeah, the power of story. I think you see it across a lot of businesses, and that brand bit has always been important and will remain important to us as a company. I think if people trust you as a brand and respect you as a company and know that you're bringing whatever audio solution you're bringing the best in the market, the most premium solution. And, you know, that's a real focus for us as a company to remain at the forefront of not just technology, but also our branding and our positioning as a company and how we're solving problems.
I think one of the key themes throughout this journey up to where we are now in 2023 is incredible support from our network, incredible support from our investors. And we've obviously now tipped over a very important milestone, which we celebrated in a very small way, but then back to business, because actually it's about what we do with our Series A capital that we've just raised.
I mean, it's very exciting, close to Series A. I guess I put it to you guys. I've been so in the middle of it all. I almost can't see the trees from the wood. You know, I think it's exciting. You know, it's not an easy market to be doing that. And I think it's, from my perspective, as someone who has been so close to it and been in front of all the investors, I think it's a real reflection on, you know, Rob, your team, the technology you guys have built, Tom, your team, and the commercial side of the business and the amount of opportunity that we're seeing. And for me, I'm incredibly proud of that. I'm proud of you guys, what we've built together and the opportunity in front of us.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's kind of nice that we're doing this little reflection on the story, the Iris story, the founding team in this new space. Jacobi, your office is huge.
We'll both move in as well.
We're going to get a ping pong table, we're going to get a pool table, whatever. No, it's. I think, you know, this is going to be a space where we take this business to the next level and beyond it. You know, and we've deliberately chosen a space that we can continue to grow into, right? And really build a team that want to be part of this and continue to show their passion and deliver incredible results for those investors and people that have been supporting our business now since 2018.
Yeah, we have incredible loyalty from our investor pool, and, you know, people who have bought into the vision, bought into the team, bought into what we're trying to do. And you know, as we've discussed just in this chat today, you know, we've pivoted and we've moved and we've evolved as a business. If you'd asked me in 2018 when the company was found, would we be selling voice isolation software to call centers, I would have laughed you out the room. But here we are today, and it's an exciting time. And I think if we can, you know, continue to deliver in the way that we have, we'll continue to see that support, and hopefully continue to grow in the way that we have to now. It's exciting times ahead.
Rapid fire round. Rob, what's your favourite moment so far?
Favourite moment? Well, I think the event at the Red Bull event was pretty special. Down the road at Phonica Records, as a single moment and a culmination of lots of things, and then the headphones, sort of the first production pair of headphones arriving in my hands, and me being able to, you know, touch and feel and hear the exceptional work that had gone on there was pretty special as well. And I think there's, you know, the Clarity product as well. You've asked for one, you got three.
That's all right.
Just, you know, all the hard work and tireless machine learning and training, and, you know, getting the models ready, and those being wrapped up into a product that's professional and, you know, is serving an exceptional purpose. So those three moments are the things that stand out in my mind.
Worst moment?
Worst moment.
Should have done this the other way around. We're ending on it. Yeah. We'll do it the other way around.
I can't think of a worst moment off the top of my head.
Most challenging moment?
Probably, I mean, just the whole lockdown period was challenging, wasn't it? So I think that, and also some parts of this year, we know that it's been a challenging year for us. So there's been moments where you know, have to grit your teeth and get through it. But we've obviously, you know, lived to tell the tale, and in a fantastic position to execute now. So,
Jacobi, worst moment?
Yeah, on the worst one, I kind of don't see them like that, because I know from previous experience, and more so than anything in the experience of building this business, every time we've been faced with a challenge, it has just made us stronger and better, and we've really done things that are the reason we're surviving today, the reason we're flourishing today, is because of the bad days, because of the challenges where we've had to sharpen our pencils, where we've had to step up, where we've had to trim some fat. You know, there's been some tough decisions made, but they've only made us stronger today. In terms of best moment, I've got some stories. I don't think I can tell them all here.
They'll go in the
but
book, right?
I think feeling the headphone for the first time was great. Seeing the results of the AI and some of the data coming out of that has just been exceptional. But yeah, I mean, I think, as you know, my favourite moments are coming in and seeing the office full and buzzing and everybody just doing their own thing and collaborating and coming together. That's why, for me, coming out of lockdown and having the team together is the most important thing. And I just love seeing that energy of something that we've built, from nothing to seeing, these amazing people involved in the business and really enjoying what they do.
Yeah, for me, I think the worst moment was that fateful call that we received to discover that we got completely stitched up, which I won't go into too many details because we'll get sued, but when we lost our headphone factory after spending weeks reviewing Chinese manufacturing plants and finding one that conformed to our high standards of
morality, environmental,
exactly.
All of that stuff.
All those things that are so important to the business, and losing that and then having to hustle. But you made a good point, right? We always lean into our challenges, and it absolutely makes us stronger to win.
There was an incident in a bathroom with an owl and an actress. There's a story I won't tell.
Yeah, there is a story about that. That's one for one of the bars.
For the memoirs.
Yeah, for the memoirs. My favourite moment is going to sound really cheesy, but it's yet to come. I think we just keep getting stronger. The opportunities that we're able to be in front of and position ourselves very, very well in front of, they just continue to inspire all of us, I know, and I think our best days are to come, and they're likely to be in this incredible space that overlooks Oxford Street here in London, and we should be proud of creating a British AI-based audio technology company, which will be synonymous with how we listen well.
Absolutely. Fine way to close.
Well done, Tom.